First of all, introduce myself. My name is Brian Rothenberg. I'm the Director of Public Relations for the United Auto Workers. We just finished the meeting of the UAW GM Council. I believe most of you have gotten some of the highlights that we have put out today. You will be receiving a press release shortly that the UAW GM Council has voted to recommend for ratification the contract. However, they have also recommended that we remain on the strike line until the vote on ratification. Ratification meetings will start on Saturday, and they are expected to have their ballots turned in on a week from Friday or 8 days from now. So, I need to, first of all, on behalf of the UAW, thank our UAW GM members and their families who have put in overwhelmingly sacrifice. They have made an incredible effort at showing what union is. They have stood on the lines together because they stood up for things that they felt were important and continue to do so. Their leaders are incredibly grateful, I can tell you that from the meeting, and incredibly, profoundly impacted by the overwhelming support of the community, of the different cities that we are in, of this nation. This strike actually became more than just a strike for the UAW. It was about the hearts and minds of American workers and the middle class. It was an outpouring of support that I think President Jones and Vice President Dittis said they will never, ever forget. It was that profound. And we thank people for all the goods and services that they've given us, their friends and their neighbors for the outpouring of support. As you know, we went on strike over the issues of a path to permanency for temporary workers, job security, fair wages, affordable quality health care, and a fair share of the profits. I will go through some of the highlights that you already have seen that are on UAW.org. The contract gives full-time temporary workers a shortened path to permanent status and into a regular status of a job, and improves their paid and unpaid time off for temporary workers. We would hope that this contract, once our members weigh in, and they are the ultimate authority, but regardless of what this contract ends up, that this issue dealing with permanent temporary workers is the beginning of the end of permatemps, not only in this industry, but in this nation. There will be no change to the health care plan. There will be a ratification bonus of $11,000 for hourly workers and a ratification bonus of $11,000 for salaried workers. The cap has been lifted on profit sharing. Many of you know that GM has made $34 billion in profits over the past 3 years. One of those years they exceeded $12 billion in profits, and they were capped, so our members could not share in those profits above $12 billion. It adds money to their personal savings of $1,000. It provides a progression for all current workers to $32.32 in 4 years. It shortens the progression time, and all of the current employees that are regular employees would be at $32.32. It provides wage increases of 3% gross wage increase, 2 years, and 4% lump sums. The skilled trades will get a $1,000 tooling allowance. The legal services benefit plan now includes spouses and additional services. Vacation has been enhanced. Many of our members would be forced to use what little vacation they had when they started, 2 weeks, during the shutdown in July. They will now only have to use 1 week, and they will have the option with the other time to use it or go on layoff where they can get unemployment. And there are bonuses built into this contract for eligible production workers up to 2,000 who retired between December 31st of this year and February 28th of 2020. So I will take a few questions. At this point in time, I want to emphasize that as you saw today, the UAW is a democratic union. Our members will make this decision, the members of General Motors. That is the commitment of Vice President Dittus and President Jones, and that is what will happen. And understand that it is their contract, it is in their hands, and the decision has been made that they will stay out until the ratification day. And that came directly from the leadership body downstairs. One other issue, while we were in our meeting today, Aramark hit a TA, tentative agreement. Rod?
Brian, can you get the specifics on how it is that the ratification will roll out? In other words, is it going to be the same as usual, where there's an educational session and then there's a vote, or will there be education sessions and votes on the same day?
There's education sessions that are being scheduled around the country. They start in the regions. They will also be in each of the locals. The local unions help set that up and help set up the election times. Those are all run by the local unions. And the instruction will be in a letter that you'll probably see. I'm sure it'll be on Facebook because everything is these days. But I believe there will be an instruction going out to all the local unions later today, and it will explain to the local unions how the process should go. And the one thing that it will outline is that we would like all the votes in by the 25th, so it's an 8-day vote. Yes, Jim?
Brian, 7% of the workers now are temporaries. What would you expect that percentage to be at the end of the contract?
I will have to check on that. What I would say is that this period allows, for the current temporary workers, it allows most temporary workers to move up. I believe it's almost life-changing for some in the first year. They're going to move up directly. And then they would also, as they move up in this progression to become permanent employees, they get credit for their time served. The one issue I would also point out, by the way, is that there's a provision that you'll see in there that has a 30-day provision, because it has to be consecutive days, but you do have 30 days that if you're off or something like that it doesn't count toward that.
Right. Is the union all worried about the expedited voting? I mean, usually it takes 2 to 3 weeks sometimes. This is going to be a week.
I believe that we've seen that our members do incredible things. I think our members are incredibly tuned into this contract, and I don't think that will be a problem getting in to vote on this contract.
And there's 3 plants closing still?
I'm sorry?
There's 3 plants closing still, or plants closed?
All of our workers will remain on strike until the ratification.
Brian, right here. You said one of the sticking points throughout this whole contract negotiation has been the UAW's insistence that you bring product lines back from Mexico to the U.S. That doesn't seem to have happened. So what do you feel like you got in this contract that warrants giving that up?
I will say this, as you will see in the highlights, we remain strongly opposed to the decision to unallocate the plants. These plants will continue to make our effort to fight for these jobs in America. I think our national negotiators and all of us did everything they could. I think that you will see that we tried to do our best when we realized the situation for the workers in those plants. By the assistance package, we were able to negotiate, and because the unions exist, we were able to do that. I think that most of our members understand, and all of our leaders understand, the reluctance of what happened. And I'm from Ohio. I understand it. I'm from around the valley. So. I'm going to take a couple more, but it's basically just sticking to the topics that we have in the contract.
Can you talk about why aren't there plant investments in the highlighter? It sounds like GM is making a commitment for $7.7 million in investments, but it's not outlined.
Well, some of these aren't even in this contract or subject to this contract. For instance, the battery plant that you've written about and the stuff about Lordstown. If it even happens, all that is not necessarily in this contract, so I'll leave it at that.
What promises have you got that you can count on?
I'm going to stick to what's in the contract and what's in our highlights for today.
Well, Brian, and then if you don't mind answering this, why leave important parts of that contract that you were hoping for out? Because a lot of people know if it's not in paper, in writing, it doesn't mean anything.
It takes two people to negotiate. I'll just leave it at that. I think everybody understands how serious that issue is.
Brian, this is my.
So is that issue still
contract
open?
through, and it's always the plants are listed in every summary. So that's a big deviation from.
Well, I think the structure of it has changed a little bit too. So, the problem is not everything is in here in this contract. So I'll leave it at that.
But what about the things that are in the contract? Why aren't they being outlined? What about the things that are in the agreement? Why aren't they being outlined in the highlighter?
In the highlighter, we specifically talked about product in the highlighter.
Where?
It's right here. We talk about the product issue. So.
How long will members have between the education sessions and the actual vote to consider?
The locals will set that up.
Can you say anything about the air alert, DA?
I do not, because I was in the GM meeting, so I don't know the details, and that's why that's why Vice President Dittus is not here right now.
What is behind the decision to keep the workers out on strike during ratification?
The local leaders made the decision that they felt strongly that they should stay out until the vote.
Because
I can't speak for the local leaders other than to tell you they felt strongly that it was important to them and their members that they have the opportunity to vote and make this decision.
Brian,
all right?
Brian, just a quick question. Sorry, I came in late.
Yeah, sure.
You may have already answered this. Can you speak to the work that will be going into the Detroit Hamtramck, the all-electric truck? How many jobs is that? Will that be? And what else has the company told you about a battery plant that's going to be over in the Lordstown area, but not in that plant?
So, as I discussed, Jim, some of these things are not in this contract, so I'm sticking to what's in the contract. That's one of the issues that we have here, but I just want to make it very clear that, you've all reported on it, what the investments are. We're in a different situation here where you have some things that are not subject to the master agreement. So with that, I'm going to go.
So that means